This is the Miami Lawyer Daddy podcast episode. I don't know. We are here today with two very interesting young men who are working on actually a lot of different projects. This is one of them. This is their Bolivian liquor, but that's not really what we're here to talk about today. We're talking about the racetrack and the city that they're working on building up in what is the county?
So the closest major city is Vero Beach.
But it's next to near Vero Beach. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about entrepreneurial stuff. But I'm going to let them introduce themselves and kind of give you their background. So
Awesome.
Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, Brent, thank you so much for having us
My
once
pleasure.
again. I mean, amazing studio you got here, and I do appreciate
Thank
the
you for
mission
coming.
statement that you have to help entrepreneurs kind of broadcast their message. But
Definitely.
My name's Sebastian. I'm in luxury land development. I've been in the real estate space for 6-7 years now. I know I look young, but I've always had an appetite for things that I think it was in The Sopranos where they said, buy land because God ain't making any more of it, you know?
Solid piece of advice.
So I've always been in that mindset of real estate has always been the biggest asset that the rich have. You know, you talk to anybody, like what I like to do is whenever I go flying, I talk to the people in first class. Hey, like, how'd you make your money? Where do you like allocate your funds? What are your assets? The answer is always real estate. So
it does seem to be the answer very often.
There's just so many ways to get in. I think there's like 40, the average real estate transaction has, I think, 41 people in it. Wow. Whether it comes from titling, the actual agent, the person that runs the Zillow account. I mean, there's just so many hands that touch that. And there's really no other asset in the world like it.
So you got in the business through your father?
Yeah. So my father, he was in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
He enlisted, I think, like 6 months before I was born.
Okay.
So I was born in Puerto Rico. My mom and dad are both Puerto Rican. And then they had I wouldn't want to say rough, but not the most opportunities. So they decided my dad enlisted. My mom got her degree in teaching, and we just got out of there. And the first place we landed was in North Carolina.
Okay.
In Cherry Point. If anybody knows about Cherry Point, they know it's desolate. There's nothing there.
Wow,
it's super boring. Nothing there. And then from there we moved to Texas. Then we moved to Japan. We spent 3 years there. Then we moved to New York, spent 4 years there. And then my brother and I, we split, or my parents and I split. And my brother and I moved here to Miami, and they went to Fort Worth, Texas.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay, wow. So tell us about yourself a little bit, Oscar.
My name's Oscar Avila.
Okay.
I was originally born in Bolivia, in South America. My background is in marketing. I am the CMO of the company as well. Okay. And also, I am the most recent partner of the company. Okay. So, like, the guys have been working on this project for a lot longer than I have. Okay. Speaking of family, my dad was a plastic surgeon. Okay. So basically, my entire family is in the medicine industry. Also in Miami and in Bolivia.
Amazing.
Yeah, and basically now that I've gone into this project, we've been working for a long time now for multiple projects, not just the city of Valhalla. But yeah, all of my background is basically academic, and I'm also a private pilot. So I've been touching a little bit in aviation.
Nice.
So that's another reason why we're also doing a private airport and a couple more things in our project. But yeah, basically.
Where'd you go to school down here?
For what?
You tell me where you went to school. Places.
I went at a university in Bolivia, and the best university in the country is called Universidad Privada Boliviana. It's Bolivian private university. Okay. I got a degree there for marketing logistics.
Oh, nice.
Then I also got a master's degree in mass communication, and I've also went to University of Dardenne in Virginia. Took some post-grad courses as well, and I've basically done a lot of academics all over the world. I've also been doing some learning in Argentina in this place called Escolita de Creativos, which is a creative-only school. Okay. So like they work in a lot of creative world and advertising world. So basically, things they're revolving slightly around marketing and advertisement and all those things. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of things academically. I'm also a business owner in South America. I own a couple businesses. I own a few art studios.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, a couple of art studios. I own a chain of tattoo shops as well.
Nice.
Yeah, and also I have some slight investing in real estate as well. I got a couple lands. Not as big as the project or anything.
Now.
Yeah, but yeah, just that's
and
how
you're
it started.
And you're a licensed pilot?
I am a private pilot. Yes.
What's the difference between private? Like, what is?
Commercial. There's basically two grades of aviation. One is
Okay.
a private aviation, and the other one's commercial aviation. Once you do
Okay.
commercial, you do airlines.
Yeah.
And
So
private is anything that you own yourself, basically.
So
or that you work for.
or you could fly like a charter.
Oh yeah, something
Okay.
something that's private.
That's very
that's
cool.
not. It's more for like a personal aviation or something that's not making like contract money, basically.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And do you fly a lot?
What's that?
Do you get to fly a lot?
Not anymore.
No.
We used to back in the day. My family used to have a plane, so like we
Okay.
used to do a lot of things like that. Not anymore. I actually quit aviation just because I wanted to spend more time like in other things. Aviation
Sure.
is a very time consuming
Yeah,
hobby
you have to
slash
be
profession.
really into it, huh?
Yeah, and like basically you have to just wake up every morning at 5 a.m. doing all the flight plans, filling a lot of paperwork, going to the airport wearing the same flight suit all day,
Yeah.
every day. Like so it just got a little bit boring. I have a lot of creativity in me, I guess, that I wanted to go out. That's basically the reason of trying to find some income in the art industry as well. Something that I like a lot, and we found a perfect balance with Atlas Corporation now that allows me to be as creative as possible, but actually work in real world applications. So that's kind of the way we came up with the cooler aspects of the project.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the main thing that you guys are working on now is pretty much like the vision is like to develop like a whole city, right?
Right.
But obviously you have to start in steps. I mean, I don't know. We kind of had a brief call yesterday, just kind of so I could get an idea of how one goes about creating a city. So I guess like we talked about tell me just like about, is the name of the company Atlas?
So Atlas Corporation is, I guess, the mother company.
Okay.
They own, for instance, Ancestro. They own like other businesses,
Okay.
and they actually own the city of Valhalla. Not only the conceptual side of it, but the actual logistics and the construction. So just to have everything kind of cleaned up and have just one controlling operator of everything. But the city itself has like 12 different businesses just in the
Valhalla,
actual-
we're talking about the proposed city.
Yeah, so
Or this
Valhalla,
is-
so
okay.
the city of Valhalla is the proposed city that
Okay.
we're looking to actually build in the next couple months. Hopefully, we break ground in December, like we were talking about off camera.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a bunch of steps. We're working on actual like documentary on like
Oh, you're filming a documentary?
yeah. So basically, like
it's amazing.
how we started, where we are now, and where we want to be in the future. So almost like a vlog. I hate to say that word, but,
Yeah,
but
no, for
basically that type of content where we show people how did we do it, what kind of connections you need. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people. I mean, for instance, we would need probably like after all is said and done, probably like anywhere from like 600 to 700 employees after
Oh, I'm
everything's
sure.
been
I
built.
mean, I can only imagine like
Yeah,
how
I mean-
it goes. So Atlas is the biggest company, is the holding company
Yeah,
for
correct.
whatever.
Yeah.
And they actually make the liquor?
Yeah, so they just own the company that produces the liquor, ships it, just the logistics side of it, and also the production side.
This is owned by this is all done in Bolivia though,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But it's an American company?
No, so it's still a Bolivian company.
Oh,
so
Atlas is Bolivian?
No, so Atlas is just the mother company.
Okay.
That's here based in Miami.
Okay.
And then that company is almost exclusively in Bolivia.
Okay.
All the employees are in Bolivia. All the marketing is done in Bolivia, and it's just
Is this
shipped
for
out.
sale in the States anywhere?
Not yet, because
Oh,
we still
okay.
have to get the FDA approval and the licenses,
Okay.
because it does have coca leaf, so it's basically the same thing that cocaine's made out of.
And it's a liquor, so it's
Yes.
obviously heavily regulated.
Correct,
Okay, so this
yes.
isn't for sale yet. Very cool.
Yeah. It's for sale in Japan though.
Yes.
It's for sale in Japan?
Japan
Yes.
and South America. Yes.
Went recently, or it's been there for
It's
a while?
been there almost
very
2
cool.
years now.
Very cool. Very cool.
Japan and South America.
So
And we also have versions that are not infused with coca leaf. So those are FDA approved and everything.
oh, those are for sale here?
Yeah.
Oh, this is just like the special version.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the premium bottle. Like this is the top of the line type of deal. Is more is like the bottle says, it is an Andean elixir. So,
It's really cool. You guys can't see it, but it's got like a
so it's basically just to, like savor it almost. Not really something that's meant to get you drunk. You know.
Yeah, no, it's. I didn't taste it because I'm not drinking this year, but it smells really good. You tried it, Maria? You like it? Yeah. She likes it.
Nice.
So the first step. What's the first step in building this city?
So how we did it is we originally were only going to build a small private racetrack.
Okay.
So we were talking a little bit before, but my father was really into racing. He got my brother and I have a twin brother, and him and I are extremely competitive. So like whenever there'd be dishes, we'd play Mario Kart for it or anything. Like we just absolutely love cars and loved racing. And it'd always been our dream to build a track.
Okay.
So we had finally found like a nice little piece of land. We finally had come up with the funds in order to do a somewhat small project, relatively speaking. And the deal just kind of fell through. He wanted too much money, wasn't able to negotiate. It was just kind of a nightmare with him. And then the actual city, the Fellsmere City Council and the city manager's name's Mark. He's the one that connected us with the family that's actually selling the big plot of land.
Okay.
Because I guess he liked us so much and he liked the idea and where we were going. He's like, hey, well, listen, there's this big plot of land. Talk to them. And then that's where the whole negotiations start. And that's where we started thinking, okay, well, a racetrack is not profitable enough for the investment of the land that we're looking to build on. So we need to look at other sources of revenue. We need to think a little bit bigger. And then that's kind of where this whole idea of a city started to come about. It was just the racetrack. Then we wanted to build condos, and then we wanted to build hotels, and then we wanted to build single family homes, and just kind of blossom from that. And then once we had the actual conceptual idea down, that's when we started looking for partners. Like, for instance, we have a partnership with D.R. Horton to build about 3,600 homes. Okay. And they're going to be taking care of most of the, I guess, middle-class homes, about 600K to like 800K homes. And then we have a sponsorship and a partnership with Porsche. So they're going to be helping us build the track as well with Driven International. They're the ones that actually build racetracks for like Formula One and IndyCar. So that partnership will help us build the track. And there's a couple other partnerships we can't really speak about because of NDAs, but we were just looking to be more of the connector when it came to that because our expertise is on the actual track. Okay. And we do have expertise in, not expertise, but we do have experience in real estate, a little bit of the actual development side. But to this scale, we need help. You know, we can't do it ourselves. And we think there's plenty of pieces of this pie to go around.
So what's, man, there's so many questions to ask. So the first step is building, is getting the racetrack built, basically?
Yes. So the first idea, and if anyone wants to build a city out there, the first thing you need to do is the idea. Like, what is going to tie the entire city together? So we're using the case study of Dubai. Okay. So Dubai is all about lifestyle and flash and, you know, affluence. And we want to sort of bring that to Florida. Okay. Because from what we see, I mean, when you think of a luxurious city, you don't really think of anything in the United States. You think of maybe Monaco or Dubai or maybe even Paris, those types of cities, right? We have, of course, New York, LA, and Miami, but there's no dedicated place that's just for luxury. So that was the first idea that we started to come up with. And then we wanted to just pair ourselves and partner with as many people as possible that could kind of fulfill that vision. So the first thing is always just get the concept and your idea, build the business plan, and obviously the pro forma to make sure that this is even viable. And then that's when you start seeing, okay, what am I going to build first? And to us, the first thing that we need to build is the racetrack, because to us, that's like our hook. That's what's going to bring people in through the door. And then with the actual racetrack and a couple of condominiums around, we'll also have model homes. So as people start to come in, go on the track, they start seeing the model homes like, oh, you know, I would really like to live here. This is a nice place, or maybe a nice investment property. And I could have my cars here because we're going to have about 200 to 300 car storage and also a museum, sort of like Skip Barber. But that was our whole plan, to just start with the actual track, to bring people in and then develop the rest of it out.
Interesting. So from like a profitability perspective, as the developer of a city, you can't, like, you have to, like, I would assume that each like component of the city has to kind of be its own deal, right? So like the track's going to have its own partners and LLC and everything, and it has to have its own cash flow. And then there's no like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can negotiate your own stuff with the county. Is that who you deal with? Yeah.
So I like to use examples, and I guess the best example would be something like Brickell. Where Brickell was kind of just a couple homes there, nothing too crazy.
Yeah, I lived there before it was, I don't even know when it was incorporated or whatever, but I lived there when there was like 2 condos there, and it was all just office buildings.
Right. And then they just blew up into a whole mini Manhattan, basically. So that's kind of the same steps that we were taking We're gonna start small, and then we'll start going through the county. And as soon as we hit a certain threshold, I think it's like 10 to 15,000 like actual residents and population.
Residents, right?
That's when we'll have our own like municipality, and we'll be able to kind of run our own things. And we'll have to actually go not to the county, but to the actual like governor. So then that's when we won't even have to really. Not because we'll still have to run things by them because technically we're still still in their county
city
lines.
In the county, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But we will have like our own government. We'll have like our own like, for instance, someone gets a ticket, they're gonna have to come to Valhalla's courthouse. They won't have to go to Fellsmere. So, but that kind of comes into play probably in what we've been seeing as like phase 2.5, 3, which will be probably like 6-7 years if we start building in December.
So, what other? Okay, so. The vision is basically like a luxury, brand new. I mean, it makes sense. A lot of people are moving to Florida right now, right? As I don't know if anyone's moving to blue states, but it seems like everybody's moving to red states pretty much. So it just makes sense to build a place that more people can go.
Right. And that's why we're using Dubai is such a good case study, is because our tax laws, we don't have 0% taxes like Dubai, but our tax laws are very favorable.
Well, we have 0% state tax.
Correct.
We have federal tax, but 0% state tax.
Right. So we have very favorable tax laws, great weather, and also in our actual city, we're going to have a lot of freedom. Like we actually have been applying for like an exotic pet license. So people from like, if international
sounds
money.
like Texas.
Yeah, just like that, right? People can bring like, like the rattlesnakes, or even as far as like their jaguars or anything like that. So people that have like this $1 billion where they don't care about anything will be like, oh, I'd love to live there because I can do anything I want.
I think that you need like a celebrity.
Yeah.
Or a bunch. You need someone who's like, I mean, you need a lot of things to go to build a city, right? But I think that if you could get like a celebrity or a bunch, but if you could get like a A-list celebrity who's like, I'm gonna be part of the city to buy into your vision. Yeah, that's gonna be a huge stepping stone.
Yeah, that would be huge. That's something that we've been talking about mainly on the racing side. So that is a good idea because we were thinking.
Well, you got to get a celebrity from the racing side. Right, you're gonna probably need a golf course. Get some golfers. There's a lot of professional golfers actually that live in the mid to South Florida area.
Yeah, we've been looking. I know that a lot of affluent people are living like in Wellington, which is actually pretty close.
Big for golf,
great. But we're at that phase where our marketing team, like we just hired like another 4 or 5 employees just to handle the actual buildup of the strategy. So that's the part that we're in now to actually start broadcasting. That's one of the reasons that we do appreciate you having us on the show.
Love it.
But we're looking to actually have more of a social presence because we've built everything that we need to have all our P's and Q's and make sure that we're actually within the law, so on and so forth, because we don't want to be caught being a security or anything like that. We want to make sure that everything's just squeaky clean and we can start moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a big deal. How far north is it from here?
Without traffic, about an hour and like 55 minutes.
So about 2 hours. 2 hours north of Aventura.
Yeah, Aventura. Aventura might even be a little bit closer, but from Brickell, Miami, it's about 2 hours.
Okay, so it's probably an hour and 30 minutes, hour 40 minutes.
Change, yeah, if you step on a little bit.
So it's almost like right in between here and Orlando.
Yes, it's actually about an hour south of Orlando.
Okay.
So about 2 hours north of Miami, about an hour south of Orlando.
Yeah, it's a great location. And what's the closest airport? Major airport?
It is, I think it's Vero Beach International. But there's actually, funny enough, 1 mile south, there's a private airstrip that they fly gliders. So like just little biplanes and gliders. So
hobby aviation.
Yeah. And we were looking to actually purchase that property, but it was like 16 acres for like $17 million. And we were like, you know what?
So you have the site for the racetrack already?
Yeah. So we have like our conceptual plans. We already know like how big it's going to be. It's going to be about 3.1 miles, which is like professional size. Like a Formula One track is anywhere from like, I think it's like 4 to 6 kilometers. So ours is just right in that sweet range. Spot. But we don't want to have like any sanctioned racing like Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR. So we want to be specifically for members only and just some league racing. So more of the pro to amateur level, but not all the way to the top of the top.
Not to the commercial
Because we don't,
stuff.
and also we don't want to make enemies with the Hard Rock. You know, we don't want to start bidding with them. And the whole process to actually be a Formula One track is about $250 million just for the application.
What, Hard Rock has a track?
Yeah, there's the Miami Grand Prix is right here around the Hard Rock Stadium.
Oh, I didn't know. But that's not they don't drive. They don't have an actual, they have a track? Or do they just turn it into the streets into a track?
It's a big parking lot that
Okay.
they've been able to pave a racetrack around it.
I mean, that's right. I knew that there was an event there. It's been, I think it's been there 2 years now, right?
Today's not today. In May will be the third year.
May be the third year. Okay. I knew that was there, but I didn't know. There's technically no track, right?
Yes.
Or it's a conversion.
Yeah, it's just a big parking lot, and they just put some really nice asphalt because you have like a very specific, very like.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like.
But they didn't build anything like they didn't build a construction.
But funny enough, if you drive over there, you'll see the infrastructure, like the stands. You'll even see like it's funny. It's a huge park line. You'll see like the super dark asphalt that is the actual track like outlined. So they didn't build any like hard infrastructure where they would have to like redirect traffic. They just clear all the stands, all the safety barriers, and it's just a parking lot.
So it's
again.
what, temporary seating when they have their event?
Well, it's a 10-year contract. So
Do they have but the seating is permanent seating, or
Yeah.
do they take it down for
No. Oh, sorry. No, it's not permanent seating. They just take it down. I mean, these grandstands, they could fit like 10, 15,000 people.
So it's like grandstands like you see at a PGA Tour event.
Correct.
They put
Just
it up
like
on
that.
the 18th hole, and then
Right.
they can take it down.
Just like that.
Interesting. And do they even use the stadium during the Grand Prix?
Yeah, you could actually. Some of the most expensive tickets are actually on the balcony of the Dolphin Stadium.
Oh, like looking out?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Because in racing, unlike in like football or basketball, you want to be further away so you could see more of the track.
Yeah.
So the closer you are, the cheaper the seats. The further you are, usually the more expensive.
Because you can't really tell what's going on when
Yeah.
you're super close. Yeah, that was always my problem with golf. It's like you could see one thing happening, but then you don't know what's going on in the tournament overall. But okay, so have you already bought the land?
So it's under contract.
Okay, so the land is under contract. That's the very first step in the process. Right. And then you're gonna move, because there's really you can't like be under contract to build a city, right?
Right.
You have to kind of just like have like an understanding with the county and like let just kind of play together, play fair, and like be cooperative.
The great thing is, when we were looking to build the racetrack, we wanted to build it like about 10 miles south of Homestead Speedway.
Okay.
Just because the land's a little bit cheaper there. But to get even a meeting with Miami-Dade County is a nightmare.
Sure.
6-7 months just for a meeting.
Yeah.
But with Fellsmere County, we could have it the next day.
Amazing.
So that would expedite everything. We've already been pre-approved as far as our plans and what we're looking to build.
Okay.
So they've given us a bunch of nice like tax breaks. Like for instance, this vacancy clause where basically anything that we develop on the land will have the same value as day one as it is in year 10, and then after that, then the actual value.
Yeah, they can negotiate. You can negotiate with the county,
Right.
For like when the city wants to bring Amazon to bring their business here, they can say, well, we won't tax you for 10 years.
Right.
You know?
And it's a win-win situation because their population is like 3,500 people. So
The whole county?
The whole county.
Wow. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It's, I think, a little bit bigger than actual Miami-Dade County because they have just so much land, size-wise.
Yeah.
So you would imagine that they're just fighting for any type of development or projects to be built down there. But they're super cooperative, super good people. I mean, absolutely love them. The whole reason we stuck with them was because of the actual relationships that we built with the city.
Sure.
Because that cuts down not only hundreds of thousands of dollars with permitting, but also saves us months and months of development and actual processing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's such a big project. I mean, it's amazing. So the land is under contract, and then what does it take to like build a track? Like from the day you close until you have cars that can race, like how long does that take?
Well, it depends on the company you use and how much you want to spend. So
But roughly,
so the first thing you need to do is actually bring in Lime Rock to be the actual foundation of the track. And then we are looking to have like some pretty extravagant things on this track. Like we've talked to the engineers about having like this long straight go underwater and have like a real nice aquarium. Even have a little bit of elevation change, which is very rare to find in any Florida track.
Sure.
So those things will slow down the process. But as far as Lime Rock to actually paving and having the track cure, it's probably like 15 months.
okay, so like a little bit less than a year and a half.
Yeah, give or take.
Were you gonna say something else?
No, I was just gonna say like we're doing a lot of things like that, but we're also putting in a twist to make it unique.
Sure.
So like basically that's kind of like my area. I speak about all the cool things
Okay.
that we're designing for the city. So basically like it's all based on a lifestyle. Like we said before. So we're basing it on luxury lifestyle. It's going to be like the first gated city in over 500 years. So basically, we're taking the gated community concept and taking it city size.
Oh, wow.
One way in, one way out type situation. Provide as much safety as possible for everybody that lives inside. The pre-approval and approval process of you becoming a resident is really high. So we have a lot of filters for that. We're going to do the racetrack is going to be the first racetrack in America that actually goes underwater. We're getting inspiration from Dubai, like we said before. So we're going to have like a clear tunnel type of situation with like stingray, sharks, and a lot of cool things. So you can actually race underwater. That's going to be a first. We're actually going to do the private airport. It's going to be called Valkyria Private Airport, which has its own private air school as well, for focused mainly on private pilots. So private jets, private helicopters. It's not going to have any commercial flights. So that's basically for the residents only.
Sure.
And we're going to do a lot of cool stuff. Like, for example, we're working on storage and parking for supercars and hypercars, because a lot of people own these types of vehicles. But instead of doing just the regular type of parking, like you could call it, we're trying to do it in a museum type of concept. So where everybody can park their vehicles, but they're like showcased through like glass windows, while you have like a dining area, a nice bar area. So have an entertainment thought of for the entire family. So it is motorsports oriented in a certain way, but that's not all of it. We're gonna have like high-end brands that are doing the retail part for us, for like shopping. We're gonna have like shopping malls. We're gonna have resorts. We're gonna have like a bunch of swimming pools. We're gonna have we have a like private lake type of situation. We're gonna have some boats going around as well. So there's a lot of cool things. We're actually trying to register the entire city as a private zoo, so you can actually roam around with your exotic pets like tigers, lions.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Not just have them caged in your house and stuff like that. So we're doing a lot of different like cool things. We're actually working on registering private aviation. Things like, for example, there's a lot of people that spend multiple millions in a helicopter and you never get to see it. So maybe how about have like a helicopter on your rooftop on your own property, something like that. So we're working on having all these possibilities of a luxurious lifestyle that make the city way more interesting than just an expensive city. Because if you think about it, in the United States, we have a lot of expensive and luxurious places, but that doesn't mean they're particularly interesting.
Sure.
We're bringing the cool aspect into it.
What have you thought about like schooling?
Yes, absolutely.
That's a big one.
We're thinking of, we're in major conversations with top 5 schools in America.
Okay.
So basically, we're working our ways around it. We can't really discuss much right now.
Okay.
But they're extremely interested, like as you can imagine, because if you think about it, we're cornering inside a gated community a whole bunch of high net individuals that have the same interests in common. So basically, we have all of the demand aspect right there, all of the target audience right there. And that's highly interesting for any potential offerings. So like if you bring retail, if you bring a clothing store, shopping centers, shopping malls. We've even spoken to previous professional hockey player that is now thinking about investing in a private sports arena. So we're going to have its own thing. So we're working on a lot of things. So basically one of the things that we like to do is have everything available, because it's going to be a city that it needs to be sustainable. So it needs to have balance. We have thought anything from like regular government buildings like waste management, water management, police, fire, all of these things. We have someone that's interested in building a specific type of hospital. There's going to be a high-end hospital that's more or less worked around as a kind of a resort situation, so you don't feel like you're in actual like hospital. You feel good.
Sure.
Because everything is prettier, nicer, but get a VIP type of treatment. We're working with Valkyria Air School to get everything figured out so that air evacuation is instant in case it's needed for medical evacuations. So we're working on things like, for example, an air ambulance. So like you have an ambulance prepared air vehicles, whether this is a helicopter or a plane, in case we need to go to any other larger hospitals that are somewhere around.
Yeah.
The same goes for the private racing track. We're not just going to do just a racing track. We're also doing a racing school that's oriented in 3 different levels. So we got hyper and supercar school, basically. So if you're a supercar owner and you have a son or daughter that wants to drive your car, you want to make sure you're feeling good about actually lending that key.
Sure.
So we're going to teach people how to drive these cars properly and safely. So we're doing a specific type of driver school like that, and we're also going to have like racing school. So if you have interest in actually becoming a racer, like more techniques, working with previous race drivers, things like that. And if you're underage, we're gonna have the same thing, but with like virtual reality simulators, with our like physical professional level simulators where race car drivers actually train in. But they're gonna have access for that for like kids and like the younger audience. So basically, what we're doing is trying to build up a community around a certain interest, so that in that way, the kids are the future. You know, like
Sure.
they're eventually going to want to buy cars. They're eventually going to want to buy homes. They'll eventually want to like all of these amenities around them. And the same goes for like dealerships and high-end vehicle brands that basically would want to have a location at this city because everybody that lives at the city like is basically their target audience.
Yeah.
And the same goes for like shopping, dining, and so on. We're working with what we want to work with top 10 brands in any direction. So it's whether it's shopping, whether if it's dining, whether if it's schooling, if it's health, if it's everything, we want to work with the best.
Sure.
Because it is a city for the best, you know. And that's why we're working in agreements for like public safety, for example, and having like our own Valhalla police and stuff like that, so that people feel safe, because you know that everybody that actually is a homeowner there has went through a very rigorous process of knowing that he is someone that shares your own mindset. So it's someone that is like you in a way of saying, is someone that thinks like you, that feels like you, acts like you, similar family, similar lifestyle. So you're going to be feeling safe, but also you're going to have same interests. So you're going to attend same events, the same things like that, you know. Either whether it's sports, it's not just the racetrack. The racetrack is like the one we've chosen to start with. But there's a lot going on. Like we're gonna have major sports, we're gonna have tennis courts, golf courts, you know, like
Sure.
all of these other things. And we're working with the professional people in each area to get feedback and make sure we're doing it properly. So that's why the team kind of like expanded so large. And we do like, we want to put the coolness touch into it. That's why we're doing like the underwater racetrack. We're doing the exotic pets. We're doing the possibility of landing your helicopter at your own property. That's not going to be available for all properties, you know, because we're going to have
bigger ones.
properties, like you said, we're going to have, for example, condos, just because we need staffing. People need to work there. It's not just luxurious homes.
Yeah.
So we're going to have accessible homes for like $600,000, just like for single family homes, and also have 1 to 5 acre homes for multiple millions. So it depends if you want lakeside, if you want to have your own pier. Like it depends a lot of things that they're going to be. There's different options available, but we're all building around a specific lifestyle. So we want to keep a community balanced, so people feel comfortable there and there's not lacking of stuff. We've taken care of the basics like energy, water, garbage disposal, safety, fire management, and all of the basics are taken care of. But on top of that, we're trying to give it an extra twist. So there's like specific houses that have a lot of privacy. You know, that we want some people want their exclusive privacy. Like you said, artists, celebrities, people like that, they don't want to be seen a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
And other people actually want to be seen a lot.
Sure.
So we have another like properties that are like you said, like trackside properties, or like specific properties that are highly visible. So you can like have your helicopter parked there.
Sure.
Your special cars are parked there. And we're working with systems that take these things into consideration. So if you spend multiple $1,000s, even millions in vehicles, you want to make sure they're well taken care of. So we're doing like specialty car washes, stuff like that. We're doing specialty air systems that are going to be at the parking locations. So there's a virtually dust proof. So there's no degrading on your vehicle. Protected from UV light, protected from all these things that over the years devaluate a high-end property.
Yep.
And the same goes for like watches, like watch brands and any type of brands that like this type of audience. That's the kind of situation we're working with. But we're also having properties that are more affordable because we're going to need staffing. But in order for you to buy those properties, you need to follow certain filters, pass filters. So you need to have a job at Valhalla. You need to have hard background check. We want to make sure that people are safe.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Man, you've put a lot of thought into this already.
Yeah.
How long has it been that you've been working on, like, thinking about all these different things? I mean, you have like pitch decks and like a lot of stuff.
So the actual city concept began in March of 2023. So we're coming up on a year.
Okay.
And that's basically just been a lot of market research, and just trying to build the concept as solid as possible before we started selling or even looking for investor capital. And we've done our pre-seed round as far as like friends and family, just to kind of get some of the cost for architects, engineers, visiting the city, pre-approval requests, and those types of things. Just kind of the minute foundational things.
Sure. And then you have to raise money. How much is the track going to cost to build?
Roughly, if we're not counting the infrastructure, then it should be anywhere from like 15 to 20 million. So with the infrastructure, as far as like the street lights, the actual road into the track, it should be about 30 to 35.
So you would have to pay for the infrastructure?
Yes. So that would basically come out of our pocket or any investors that we do get on board whenever we do get to that point.
So the city won't pay for that.
So the city, they'll give us like government bonds.
Okay.
And they'll not reimburse us, but they'll help us with any payment, anything that basically needs to be built, such as like traffic lights, stop signs, some of the smaller things they'll help out with. But since it will be private property, because it'll be under our name, we have to kind of manage most of the things there. And
so it's going to be private property. The whole city is going to be private property?
Yeah, so everything that would lie within the 3,500 acres would be of property of Valhalla, Valhalla, but it'll actually be property of Atlas Corporation.
So it's not a city in a sense, it's more like a community.
Yes.
Private.
Yes, so it's a gated community the size of a city.
Yes.
And is that what Dubai is? Or is Dubai actually operated by the government?
The government, they do have a monarchy there, so they basically control everything. But
Okay.
yes, the government controls all of Dubai and Abu Dhabi as well. So
Everything has one owner,
Yep.
basically. So all the buildings are owned by one
In
person.
Dubai?
and in Dubai, it's most of everything is controlled by the actual royal family.
Right.
So, or any of their like constituents or any of their like cronies, I guess you could say.
So that's an interesting analogy. So it's owned by the royal family, which is also just like the government.
Yes,
They're one and the same.
correct. Yes.
I mean, I've heard that like Dubai has no crime.
No, I mean it's a very safe city, very clean, low taxes. It's paradise basically.
Is that how is the if you want to move to Dubai, are you subject to like a lot of background checks?
Yeah, so you're subject to a lot of background checks, and the actual visa process takes some time.
You need to be invited.
That can all be expedited, like most things, with money. So if you're a very affluent individual, very powerful person, all that visa and all that paperwork and everything can be expedited. But you still have to go through that process.
But if you're qualified, I don't know. I've seen people that made 100 million off crypto go to Dubai, and that's where like that's the best place for them. It's easy.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty straightforward process. You have money, you have power, and it's made by moral gains. Like for instance, some people that have been denied for Dubai, from what I know personally, is people that made their money from like liquor. Because in the Middle East,
There's no drinking, right?
There's no drinking. So sometimes those people get denied, or they'll get exported. They won't really get denied. They'll be able to come in, but once their visa's up, they got to leave.
So it is kind of similar to, but it's going to be different what you guys are doing, because yours is going to be basically like an HOA, but just a massive
Right.
HOA.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Yeah.
So it's really not going to be subject to the laws of a city in this sense. It would be kind of like Disney.
We
Yeah.
got that a lot.
Yeah.
Is that
got
is
that
that
a
an
lot.
analogy that people are thinking?
And funny
Yeah,
enough,
we get
Disney actually.
Disney for adults.
Yeah, Disney
and we
for
get
adults.
mini
But
Dubai a lot.
funny enough, we took a lot of inspiration from Disney, because the story of Disney is crazy. He bought like 90,000 acres in Orlando, and he got a huge deal for it because it was all swamp.
Yeah.
There was nothing there.
Yeah.
And then he started to build everything, and the actual city was the one that helping him supplement all this growth and all this development, until they got so big that now they have Disney Police, they have Disney Fire, and Disney Medical. So they were able to grow at such a rate that they had to have their own infrastructure when it came to like municipalities and just simple things like the courthouse and the jails. Because there's even Disney jail. Like,
Is there?
yeah.
There is.
So like if for instance you get
There's
in
lots of
trouble in, let's say, Disney World, they're going to take you to Disney jail. They'll process you and then probably export you if it's egregious enough, of course.
So, but everybody in the Disney ecosystem is paid by Disney. They're not paid by a city or a state.
Right.
Is that true?
Right. So they, of course, Disney has multiple like smaller companies that pay around.
Sure.
But yeah,
sure.
basically it all kind of comes back to the top of the pyramid, which is Disney.
So if any, okay, so, and now I assume that would be the same. Like everybody in Valhalla would be an employee for either like just one of the probably thousands of entities,
Right.
The racetrack and the hospital and
there are deals that we would work out as far as like, for instance, for an example, if Rolex wanted to open up a store, then
Sure.
obviously Rolex would pay their employees and everything, but any rent or taxes would come straight to Valhalla.
so you'd still be somehow having taxes too. The city would it be called the city?
I mean,
Or would it be called like the village? Like I know Brickell is Mary Brickell Village. There's like I guess this just comes down to legalities and
yeah,
getting the
we're really
attorneys
fighting
involved.
for the city name
Okay.
because we really want to have that. But the backup would always be like Valhalla Villas or Valhalla Village or
To
something.
be a city though, probably technically it sounds like
Yeah, there's a lot of.
you have to actually have, but then you have to probably like,
We have to register with the actual state of Florida, and then it would be a
and then
much
you
longer
might have
process.
to be like, you couldn't do anything that's not constitutional.
Right.
Yes.
Like you couldn't, maybe you might not be able to do like keep people out. That,
Right.
Like you guys want to have it so like you have to either, be a landowner or an employee, right?
Right.
So that kind of thing. I don't know the legalities of that as an attorney, but I'm assuming that might not be easy to do if you're technically a city.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's
And
kind of
also
like the
how many people there's in the actual location.
and it's kind
How
of
many
like
families?
for instance, insurance purposes, we're not going to call it a racetrack. We just say that just to have so people can understand
Sure.
it. But it'll be like a motorsports park, just for insurance reasons. Like I think
okay.
it'll be like that type of
Sure.
semantics type of situation. But yeah, I mean, Abu Dhabi's a great, or Dubai, excuse me, is a great case study because it has a lot of the answers that we were looking for as far as like what do we have to do and how do we actually do it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole zero crime. I've seen videos where a guy leaves his Bugatti with the keys on the Bugatti and goes to have lunch and comes back. I mean, who knows if it's real, but
That's
you
what
hear
we're
enough of
shooting
these
for.
stories, you think it's probably somewhat real that there's
Yeah.
like zero crime and
Exactly.
it's like beyond the safest place.
And that's what we want to do. So
Yeah.
that's the reason for having the completely gated community. We're having a private safety other than community police. Like.
But I did want to ask, so as an attorney, how do you view it? Like, what do you see? Because there's a lot of liability. There's a lot of things that go right, a lot of things that go wrong.
Shit, it's far outside of my area of like expertise, but my first, my first like response is just there's going to be so much like backlash from like the regular people, but that's how the world works. So I don't think that's like a reason not to have big dreams or whatever. It just seems like such a big project that I guess you just have to break it down into its individual elements and just start executing as fast as possible. You just need momentum, I think that's why I like the idea of getting like I guess you just have to start raising a ton of money as fast as possible from legit people who, every time you get more people involved, then the chances of success go up. And
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like one of our biggest strengths is our partnerships. So like he said, we have like around we're going near 10, I think, right now, but like major partnership brands. But right now we really can't disclose them yet.
Sure.
But like for example, we have Porsche on board. We got DR Horton on board. We got a lot of really well reputating brands. So like the more they're able to become visible, the easier it is for us. No.
Yeah.
For us. And we also have a lot of interest from private investors as well. We have we were doing like different categories of investment at the beginning, like for micro investors and like larger investors and stuff like that. But the more brands we're working with, like you said, it is becoming easier. Like you said, if we get like a major celebrity that wants to purchase a home here, they'll make it way easier. So there's a lot going on, and that's cool. And like actually, besides the question from an attorney point of view, how about like from a personal point of view? Like, do you find this something to be interesting? Do you find
It's
something?
super interesting. I mean, it's I think it's unfortunately, it's kind of the way of the world in the sense that like the rich get richer and the gap between the wealthy and the poor just like goes up. You know, that topic is a topic for another day, but that's like, that's just the way of the world, right? Like the studies all show like it has nothing to do with actually money. It's like, over time, like cities, certain cities attract all the people because they want to all be together, and it's like all the gains go to like a few places, whether it be wealthy people or just cities. Like, you know, it's like a gravitational pull, right? So the larger a planet is, the larger its gravitational pull. It's the same thing with like money or cities or just resources in general. So I see that, and obviously, like, you know, I think that there's a need for, like, you see this with like Elon Musk, like he's homeschooling his kids, for example. There's a lot of like celebrities or just very wealthy people who are just, they're having kids now and they're like, man, the school system is so bad. Like all this legacy stuff that was built up over the last 100 or 200 years, for the way that the world was over the last 100 or 200 years is now built, was built for a different time. And now there's a lot of probably very good arguments to be made that like we need to build a new city that's like optimized from the ground up for the way that the world is now, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, we were even just talking beforehand about dress, right? Like it's now acceptable to go into an office with a polo and some slacks, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But 50 years ago, if you weren't in a top hat with a 3-piece suit, you weren't fitting
different
in,
times, yeah,
right? So,
for sure.
And that's the vision that we had as well. That even if you like take a look at Miami, booming city, crazy economy, bunch of opportunity, but it was built one spot at a time. There wasn't like a master plan that said, okay, we're going to build this road so there's less traffic. It's like, okay, we're going to build this road because these people are starting to move in. This residential area is blowing up. A couple years later, oh, now Coral Gables is blowing up. Now we need more infrastructure. So it's always like cities are playing catch up.
Yeah. I mean, LA is like
terrible.
Like, no, it's disaster.
But at our scale, we get to plan it out.
Yeah.
So we get to dissolve all of these, for lack of a better word, mistakes that have been committed in the past. Because we know how many families are going to be there. We know where the restaurants are going to be. We know where all the commercials area, where the industrial area is going to be. So we know everything. We know how to design streets so we avoid like traffic. We avoid all of the things that make life stressful, basically. Yeah. So we want to. That's why we're building around the lifestyle and not just like utilities or things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of like intelligent design. Right, everything should be designed or redesigned like regularly, because you sometimes design something like up front and you just, there's almost impossible to like see around the corner. And then you just have to like iterate once you're like, well, the traffic flow here is just a huge choke point. We got to like add another lane. Like this just, you know, we got to just game plan around it. I mean, they're doing that right here in Aventura. They're building like all these ramps and it's a disaster now, but hopefully when it's done, it'll be
better, way better.
A lot better.
I mean, the Miami Bridge, that big like art piece that they're basically building from I think it's downtown to South Beach. I mean, I've lived here for 3 years and are still working on it.
Yeah, it's crazy how long it takes. And that's another thing. It takes so long to retroactively fix inefficiencies.
Right.
Yes.
That if you can anticipate the future at least a little bit and game plan around it and design properly for it, it will pay huge dividends. So it's just such a massive undertaking that it's going to be hard to convince people that they should join the team or invest their money or commit and whatever, just because it's so hard to get behind something that like at minimum is going to take like 5 to 7 years and could take, 15 to 25 years, you know. People are like, shit, I might not even be around when this thing comes around. Like, why should I invest my time and energy in it? So, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth doing, you know, like Elon Musk has been working on Tesla for 20 years now. And it's still like a new baby, you know, it's just now, I mean, it's crushing in a sense, but there's still a ton of people that are like hating on it and think that it's going to go under. It's just a matter of time. but at least that's a private. Well, now it's Tesla's public. Twitter's private now, but at least that's like a traditional like company, right? Like the structure of a company, you have employees, you have financing, you have shares. It's way more simple than like a city.
Right. But I think Tesla is that unicorn study because they're not just a car company anymore, right?
No,
like
they're not. They're an energy company.
Right.
Now.
They sell Tesla company. Insurance, Tesla solar panels, everything that would have to do with transportation and energy, they're taken care of.
Sure.
And that's why, I mean, personally, I'm a big fan of Tesla stock.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's a great stock to hold for the long term. But one of the reasons people hate on it, they're like, oh, it's not worth the hundreds of billions of dollars if you compare it to like Toyota and everything. But Toyota is a car company, right? Honda is a car company.
Yeah.
But Tesla is an energy company, like you were saying. They're much bigger than just the transportation and just the car space.
And actually data, you know, like, because like,
they have so many different things that they're like they're just like an Elon company. Like you invest in Elon, like and
information, because information is power. You know, like information is power, information is money.
Yeah.
They're doing it right. Like Elon knows stuff. He's doing it the proper things, and we've got a lot of inspiration from most of these these aspects to get around these things. We've even been discussing a little bit. We haven't really gotten anything down yet, but we want to maybe have the option of the entire community having just high-speed Wi-Fi all over the community. So it could be anywhere at a public park, probably anywhere, and just have access to high-speed internet. And that's another inspiration we got from like overseas as well.
That's pretty cool.
So we're working on a lot of cool things. And the same like you said, roads, traffic, and things like that. That's one of the reasons we have a Valkyrie Airport, because we like if you arrive to Miami International, you could just charter a jet to.
You know what I was always thinking? That I didn't even think about this until just right now. But like for example, the whole idea of like self-driving cars, and they've been thinking about how they've been working on this problem for like 15 years now. Like a lot of resources have been pouring into it. And they're trying, the way that they're doing it is kind of like ghetto, because they're just trying to put cameras in cars and like see the world. But imagine if you could just design your roads. Like imagine if there was just
track
LED or RFIDs or whatever technology they would use, like embedded in the roads.
Almost
the cars could just literally like not like almost magnetically, like they would just know. They wouldn't even have to use cameras at all. They would just be communicating with everything built into the roads. Think about how much more efficient it could be,
like almost like a trolley car, like in San Francisco.
Yeah, that it's plug. Basically, the like we talked about with intelligent design. If you design the road system because you knew that you were going to have the technology of super powerful CPUs in the cars with their own driving mechanisms.
Yeah.
Probably 95% of driving could be just automated.
And it would just. I don't know if you ever seen the movie iRobot.
I think I have, but a long time ago.
Great movie, but one of the scenes that always sticks out to me, because I'm a car guy, was how none of the cars were gas and none of them were actually driven by a human.
Sure.
And they would go like 200-300 miles an hour. Yeah. Every car was a computer, so everyone kind of followed the same lead. And we might be headed to that, right?
Well, it's kind of like the Boring Company, right? So if it's just a tunnel or a hyperloop, similar idea, like. It's a different way of transportation. So you just design the track up front, knowing that it's just going to be like a one shot.
Exactly.
You could go super fast, super efficient, and then you could take slow transportation, like to get to your exact destination. But you go the bulk of the way, like lightning speed.
Well, we've seen the effects, like one of the public transportations, because we also were thinking of having that. Even though there are affluent people, we still want to have that available, because I don't think you can build a city at large if you don't have some type of public transportation.
Yeah.
But if you look at the case study between Singapore and LA, LA's public transit, I think on average per year, it moves like 10 to 15,000 people like per year.
Yeah.
And Singapore is like in the hundreds of millions as far as like rides.
It's crazy.
Because they looked at it as what are all the points of interest instead of just having like a grid where like LA has. You have north and south, east and west, and then just branching from that instead of actually integrating with the geography and the actual points of interest. Yeah. So if you and the reason that they did that is because they were able to predict, okay, well, these are the communities that are growing. This is the points of interest where people need to go. Let's just branch out from there. Instead of having like a grid pattern, it'll be a more organic type of shape.
Yeah, it just goes back to intelligent design.
A lot forward, like a lot farther. I don't know if you're familiar, but We got this inspiration from Tokyo.
Okay.
Tokyo was one of the most difficult to organize metro and systems in the world. And they've been trying for many years to optimize this.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they've come to a solution was through a mushroom. So the way they did is they recreated that into a model, and from point A to point B, and just put on a mushroom. So basically, nature, the way mycelium expands, is the most optimal that it ever existed.
Sure.
It seeks to be as efficient as possible, and nothing has been more efficient than that to this day.
Okay.
So what they did is just put the mushroom, put the nutrients, and see the routes that are created by the mushrooms. So we've actually gotten that inspiration from Japan, and we might be applying it in the future into our routes here.
Mm-hmm. That is very cool.
Yeah.
I'm
the guy that says all of the cool things.
Interesting.
He's the guy that does all of the
intelligent design. I mean,
numbers,
it all goes back to that. City planning and like just living.
And nature has a lot of the answers for sure. A lot of things. We just forgot about that for a little while. Yeah.
So, man, so like what's the timeline for like what are you guys like trying to like accomplish and by when? Like when are you going to close on the property? I mean,
so if all goes well, we're looking to have shovels in dirt by December. That's I think an aggressive timeline, but we have all the people in place and all the procedures in place to make that happen. And then once we have the shovels in dirt, the track should take anywhere from like 15 months. Best case scenario, relatively speaking, like 16 to 18, just to have a little margin in there. So up and running 2024. So yeah, like 2026.
And would you have to wait, do you think? And then you wouldn't wait till that was completely done to build the homes, right?
I don't think so, because a lot of the feedback that we've been getting from investors is come back when you have something on ground. Come back when you have things actually being built things happening.
Sure.
So I don't mean to be rude, but a lot of investors are like sheep, right? If they see one private equity
that's
firm,
why I said you got to get like get a big name, right? And then the momentum.
Yeah. But the guys that take the biggest risk at the beginning are the guys that are gonna make the biggest price.
The visionaries, the guys who they're taking the most risk.
And that's why we divided it into like steps. You know, like if you invest now, you're getting way more benefit than if you invest later on, and so on, because it just makes sense. It's less risk. It's just
you get diluted.
But it is controlled risk, because at the same time, like if you're funneling all of this type of individuals to a single area, we could never say there is no risk, but it is controlled risk.
And once we actually build the racetrack, then the homes should be pretty easy to sell. I mean, just to go back to the example, I mean, if BlackRock was to put $100 million down, we just have to go to invest and say, okay, well, I understand you don't want to invest with us, but BlackRock just wrote us a check for $100 million. So
like if somebody what are the current terms? Like what are people like? How are people investing right now?
So the way that we actually did it is a real estate syndicate. So the two big ways you can invest are either general partner, that would be not only do you invest your money, but you also invest your time, and you want to have a more, I guess, hands-on role, or the limited partners, which is just, hey, here's the money. I believe in the operating managers. You guys make it happen, and I want my return. That we have multiple exits for them, but the one that we've been seeing be the most popular is a general partnership, because then that also comes with the benefit of you can bring your own developer, or you could bring your own shop. Like if you run a business, let's say you are a high-end tire shop, you want to be a general partner because you not only want control in where your shop goes, but like you want to have those exclusivity rights as well.
Okay.
So if you're just simply a real estate investor, maybe the limited partnership might just be a little bit more beneficial and just a little bit less of a headache for you, because then you don't have any voting power. But some people actually look at that as a positive because they don't want to be dragged in every 2 weeks. Hey, the fire station that we had on Route 2 needs to be moved, but it needs to be moved into somebody else's property.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't want anything to do with that. You guys vote on that your own.
So what are you guys doing? Are you pitching like individuals right now, or do you have how are you raising money?
Yeah, so our actual, I guess, sales or investor campaign starts March 15th.
Okay.
So that's when we're going to have all our marketing material. Our social media is going to start actually producing more content to be a little bit more out in the atmosphere. But we're mainly looking for accredited investors. We're using the 506C exemption.
Okay.
But we're mainly looking for accredited investors. That's kind of our bread and butter.
And are you guys going to be raising money for like Atlas, the top level company, or are you going to be raising money for individual like sub ventures within the community?
So we have those two options. If you want to just invest in the entire project itself, then yeah, you can invest in Atlas. But if you just want to invest in, say, the commercial side, like if you just want a Panera Bread there and you are the franchisee of Panera, then you would want to just purchase that lot, and you can do that as well. Now, that would be in the actual sale round. The investors round is just simply to get the whole piece of the pie. And then once we actually have closed that round, then we'll just be going to actually selling the parcels of land.
Yeah, and that would be for the entire project of the city of Valhalla. So, like, if you come in now, then you also are you get the benefits of the actual city. You know, well,
right.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, the earlier you come in, the better.
Right.
Yeah, but like for the project, for the entire project, not just for the property you're purchasing or whatever.
Right.
Or you
like
could also choose to
city
purchase
or whatever
exactly.
you call it.
Mm-hmm.
That includes or just like you could just, like I said, just purchase individual pieces of land, or you could just have your own company out there. Or some people are interested in investing for just exclusivity rights for their brand or for specific dealerships or things like that. You know, there's a lot of possibilities.
There's so many possibilities.
Commercial, industrial, and residential.
Maybe even for attorneys.
Where it can go. Yeah, it's
okay.
it's super interesting. So where can people like keep up with you? Were you guys publishing content on any specific platform?
So the big place is our website. It's just cityofvalhalla.com.
Okay.
And then you can also book an actual session if you want to go a little bit more in depth, actually look at our pitch deck, and we can actually, just really open the doors to you to actually see the back of house.
Okay.
Just a 15-20 minute appointment can be booked with our sales team there. That would probably be the best place to go because, like I was saying beforehand, our social media hasn't started growing yet.
Sure.
Just because, we've had a couple other things that we were trying to focus beforehand. But
yeah,
cityofvalhalla.com is definitely the best place to go.
Nice. And that already has some of the like the vision there?
Yeah, just has it's
limited
simple,
right now, but
it's just a simple one pager. And then if you really want to learn more, there is a place that you can actually book a Zoom call, and then we can just break the whole thing down
show
for
like
you.
the back stuff.
Yeah, the back stuff, the numbers, the pro formas.
Because there's different pitch decks for different
parts of the
exactly
of
different investor types.
And who's involved right now? Who are the core team members besides you guys?
So the big three, I guess, visionaries would be myself, Oscar, and my brother Lorenzo.
Okay.
And then we do have a big group of advisors. One of our actually main advisors is Tom Ellsworth from
PBD's guy.
PBD, yeah.
Very
so
cool.
he's actually helping us. He's actually one of the ones that's coaching us in our actual fundraising. So he's been a huge help. Another guy that I'd like to give a quick shout out to is Brian Windle. He's actually one of the guys that has really helped us push this project forward and just been a great person. He's actually built this type of project multiple times. So he's the one that we kind of lean on for any hard hitting questions.
So he's been involved in like a master city development project before?
So Brian has, yes.
Brian has. Mm-hmm. Okay. And can you talk about what other projects?
Yeah, sure. So he was the one that helped build, some people might know it, but there was a baseball stadium that was built, and there wasn't an MLB's team there yet.
Okay.
So he built the actual stadium and everything around it, like the hotels, the shopping centers, and everything else, before actually putting a bid. So they wanted to do the opposite, because usually you go out, you bid for the team, then the MLB signs off, and then you start construction. So they did it the other way around. I think it was in Minnesota where that was, or Colorado. I'm not too sure.
So they built. He was.
Yeah, he's a major partner in that actual construction, and he's actually one of the guys that's going to help us close everything as far as with the land. He's the head advisor when it comes to that, because he's done multiple purchases just like
so
this.
He's like the operations guy?
Yeah, I would say that's good. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And is he based down here?
No, he's based in Arizona.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Very cool. So like his legal team, his just so many moving parts.
It's a lot. And that's just the land part of the project, right? There's so many things that come after that. So it's like we climb up this big mountain, and then we see the peak, and we could rest for like 2-3 minutes, and then we gotta just go back into the trenches.
So who's Ellsworth working with? Is he working with the three of you guys, or
so he's mainly working with my brother and I. He's
Okay.
basically like our consultant. I mean, if anybody knows about PBD, then they know how much value he brings. And
Yeah, huge.
We've been blessed to actually have a consultation with them, and they've really helped out and really put things in perspective. And funny enough, one of the things that we share with Tom is that he loves cars and he loves Formula 1.
Oh, is he? That's cool.
That's one way that we've been able to connect and really kind of see eye to eye with the actual project. And it's been great. I mean, he's an amazing guy. I mean, he's the same exact guy that you would see on the podcast as he is in real life.
Yeah, I actually went to the Vault. So I went to PBD's event, saw him talk to Brady, listened to Ellsworth's discussion, and I've met PBD very briefly at the studio. I've seen their studio.
Cool guy. A lot taller in person.
Yeah, big dude. Now he's a part owner of the Yankees. So, he's a great guy to kind of be in his atmosphere because he's super well connected.
And I love how the vault is actually in a bank vault.
Yes.
That's, I didn't know that.
You see those signatures on the back are safety deposit boxes. And it's
really cool.
It's a very cool vibe. So, all right. Well, you guys want to give any last words before we sign out people can follow you on the website, keep up with you. And are you going to be using any one particular, like where are you going to be posting like anything? YouTube, Instagram?
Yeah, I would say that our big 3 channels that we want to grow on is, of course, our website. But Instagram and LinkedIn are 2 places that we really want to start making a push because those are 2 of the more professional places, I guess you could say. Instagram will be more for like the content, also for the documentary that hopefully we can start producing it weekly, as far as like weekly episode of, okay, this is the journey we went on as far as the concept. Okay, now this is the legal team. Now this is just those small steps that people might be interested in. Also can take a little bit of value from.
I think the school thing is a big angle because people have a lot of money and like they probably have. It just seems like that's a big problem that is going to be really hard to solve.
I think,
and you guys could solve it at least pretty well. You could build that in, like with anything. If you're building from scratch from intelligent design, you just have so much more flexibility.
Exactly. And we've even kind of thrown the idea around of having almost like a traveling teacher, where instead of you going from one teacher to the next every single year, maybe having this teacher stick with you for like 2 or 3 years, so she has more time to actually plan and develop these children more than just, hey, I'm going to teach them math and reading, and then they're the next person's problem.
Yeah, I mean, I just throwing a bunch of kids in a classroom and just telling them to behave is
it's no longer the way.
Especially for boys, I think there's a big difference between boys and girls. I have 2 little boys, so I just don't. I don't know how effective that sit in a room and just focus
Oh, sorry.
And just and if they don't focus, just feed them Adderall. That doesn't seem like the best strategy.
It's definitely not a winning strategy.
Yeah.
It's more of putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, I guess you could say. But
we no longer want to stick to traditional.
Anything like your target demographic is, people that have a net worth of 50 to, $1 billion, 50 million to 100 to $1 billion. So they probably want to be pitched on like new solutions, this is how we've, you want to be like, we've interviewed these doctors and we have like 3 different concepts for school. You know what I mean? Like show that you've actually really, they're used to dealing with like people who haven't thought about overhauling the system and, whatever. So, giving them novel ideas on solutions to helping their kids be the best that they could be that's a huge point.
Just be disruptors, really.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on today and telling me about your vision. Super interested to, keep in touch and hear about how things go. Do a follow-up episode a little bit down the road and look at breaking ground and everything like that. So, yeah, man, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming through.
Brent, we appreciate
Thank you guys
it.
for the opportunity.
Thanks for the audience for giving us their attention.
Yeah, I can't wait to send you guys the finished product and you guys can put it in that documentary.
No, for sure. This is going to be a big piece of it. This might be the catalyst that we need,
For sure. Well, thanks again for coming by.
Invest in Valhalla, guys.